a Roaring Fork Schools production.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new and our latest podcast. I'm Cristina Vargas, and we're here today with the Roaring Fork School District Superintendent Jesus Rodriguez and some additional guests, Stacey Park, Chief Academic Officer, and Chief Financial Officer Nathan Markham. How are you guys today?
Doing well, thank you.
I'm well, thank you.
Good. So we're gonna start with a little bit of a crew activity. And today we are gonna be talking about learning and understanding. And I understand that one of you just went skiing for the first time this week.
That's me.
How was it?
I had gone one other time over 20 years ago with friends and not taking a lesson. And so really this was like the first time. And it was neat. I was with our GSMS eighth graders in a ski lesson with with eighth graders who had not learned before.
Oh my gosh.
And it was hard. It was really hard, I think, both because it's brand new to me and maybe because I'm not in the same physical shape as I was 20 years ago.
Oh yes. Did you
yeah.
feel it in your legs?
Oh yeah. I took some preemptive Advil, the one of the principals gave me later in the day, but it was great. I learned a lot. I want to continue learning.
Yeah. And Superintendent Dr. Rodriguez, you did do that about a month ago as well, right? You went snowboarding?
No, I've been skiing, and I've taken several lessons now, and I had a big milestone this past weekend at Sunlight. I've been joking all week and starting by saying I don't mean to brag, but I went down Ute by myself at Sunlight for the first time this weekend, and it was a major milestone, and it was a really neat experience because it just so happened that I was sort of by myself at the top. Nobody went that route. I think more of the advanced skiers took a different route. And so I was by myself for like 5 minutes and it was completely quiet and the snow looked awesome. And all you could hear were my skis on the snow. And it was just a really energizing moment, a tranquil moment. And yeah, it really, I'm enjoying it. I'm getting better every week.
Nathan, do you like skiing?
I do. I grew up skiing, took maybe a 15-year hiatus while I lived in Denver. And then since we moved back, have been back into skiing and I've really enjoyed it, especially with my children who are now getting into it. It's just kind of a special thing that we can share together when we get out each weekend to do. So definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that. I enjoy skiing too much. So I try to go as much as I can, but lately just the weekends. So it's been one of those crazy, crazy experiences for me because I did not grow up here. So I learned about 5 years ago, and I have not been able to stop since. More into what our subject will be today, which it is about the acceleration plan. And I would like to, maybe I can hear from you, Dr. Rodriguez, because in your last column, you spoke about the plan to accelerate learnings in the Roaring Fork schools. And why do you think we need to accelerate learning?
So before I answer the question, I do just want to publicly acknowledge and thank especially Chief Park and Chief Markham on their work on the Learning Acceleration Plan. It has, even the column was a very collaborative effort that we worked on together, and the two of them and our team at large have spent a lot of time over the last several months thinking very thoughtfully about the proposal and talking to lots of different stakeholders and using a lot of data to inform the proposal. And so just wanted to start by thanking them first. It's really their leadership that has gotten us to this point with the plan. And the reason that we need to accelerate learning is because we have a mission to fulfill, one that is very near and dear to my heart, as you all have heard me repeat it a lot this year, which is that every student develops the enduring knowledge, skills, and character to thrive in a changing world. I believe that as a public school system, we have a responsibility, an obligation, and I'm proud that we share this commitment to deliver on our mission to every single student. Our students are only in our system for a limited amount of time. And one of the things that we have learned on this side of the pandemic, now, I guess 3 years later, almost to the date, is that the pandemic has exacerbated the challenge. We have a lot of differences in achievement between some of our subgroups of students, but ultimately we have to raise the achievement of every single student so that they have the opportunity to graduate from our school system prepared to go on to college or career, whatever they dream of.
Wow, that's very inspiring. Stacey, would you like to give us a little bit more of an overview of the Learning Acceleration Plan?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, for the acknowledgement. And I just wanted to give a little bit of context. The plan itself are the actions that have come out of the district UIP, which we started the planning for back in fall along with schools. And the action plan or the acceleration plan is also informed by the schools UIPs. It's part of the information and data that we used to create the plan. And like Dr. Rodriguez said, a lot of stakeholder conversations, and some of those conversations may have, been out of buildings, leadership team meetings, or conversations with leaders in what they've identified as the strengths of their programming and also the highest priority needs. And so the key strategies of the plan are fourfold, and this comes out of the major improvement strategies of the UIP, which is first and foremost to ensure that all of our students have access to grade level content and can authentically engage with it. Like Dr. Rodriguez just said, the pandemic has exacerbated a lot of where our students currently are. And so we both want the content itself to be rigorous and to ensure that we're supporting our students to access it.
Right.
Then I think a second one is to make sure that we're focusing our coaching and professional development to really strengthen the instruction in every classroom. And this is not to say that there isn't great instruction happening in classrooms across the district. We've been in many classrooms where we see really, really excellent instruction happening. And also there's opportunities where we could strengthen it. I think all leaders would agree with that. I think teachers can also reflect and share that as well. And so we think that one of the key drivers is to really focus the coaching and PD on that. And then I think a third, which was identified by the district last spring, is a need to have a really robust MTSS system, a multi-tiered system of support that includes ways that we're commonly assessing where students, what students have learned and achieved and mastered so far, and then also identifying what the appropriate support and interventions would be, especially those students who might need additional or different ways of learning. And then finally, we have a large population of emerging bilingual students in our school district. And if you look at the data for not just this past year or the 3 years, but many years before that, we can see differences in achievement for that subgroup as well. And so acknowledging that, we really need to make sure that we are strengthening supports for the particular subgroup.
Yeah, it's super important to be able to acknowledge that there are different groups and that there are different type of learning and, the learning curve, especially whenever somebody's coming into this community. Could you talk about how the acceleration plan supports strategic priorities and connects to work that is currently happening already?
Yeah, we identified a clear need and emphasize it again to really elevate the achievement of all of our students, and in particular to close the differences in achievement between our subgroups. And again, I want to emphasize, we know that there's a lot of good work happening with our teachers and leaders,
Yes.
and that has been happening. But as we think about the current state of our student achievement, our change theory is that, if we can get to a space where there's really effective tier 1 instruction, that's universal instruction, at every class, in every grade level is present, and there's appropriate support for our emerging bilingual students, our students with IEPs, and our students for who they're currently performing far below grade level, who may not be an emerging bilingual student, who may not be a student with IEP, that can help us achieve that. And so part of the support here, we know professional development is one of the key strategic priorities. We want to make sure that, the work that is happening whether it's the intellectual preparation before teaching in the class, the supporting teachers to really understand the content that they're teaching, that they're able to gather data efficiently and actually use that to respond. I think that if we can hit that with some strong coaching and PD, that will be, really effective support to help folks get there. Again, what we've seen in many of our strongest classrooms in the district, the teachers have really deep knowledge of their content, which is critical. They understand the necessary level of rigor for students, and they also understand strategies to really engage students in the work. But I want to emphasize that we need to get to a place where all of our classrooms are doing this.
Yeah, and you can have the feel that, everybody's having the same achievements and that they are learning at the same capacity. That's wonderful. Nathan, could you tell us about the plan to finance this work?
Certainly. First, we always work to balance in the short term and long term the existing investments of the district against new investments. And after a lot of comprehensive and thoughtful work, the needs of the LAP have been determined to be a strategic priority for the district, which warrants funding. Not all the needs and wants of the LAP can be funded in year one. It's likely to be a multi-budget cycle process of investing, revising, and reallocating district resources. For the new positions proposed for next year, we've seen an increase in total program funding, specific ownership taxes, and investment earnings, which are all recurring sources of funds, which means it's sustainable, are being used to fund these positions. Our goal is to make sure these investments are sustainable in the long term, and we think we've done that.
That's wonderful. Is there anything else you would like to share about the Learning Acceleration Plan?
Sure, I'll go first. I think when you look at the data that was shared in the fall, there were clear gaps in learning achievement between our different subpopulations. Through the school and district UIP processes, we were able to create a plan that would change that. The Learning Acceleration Plan is the action plan that's come out of that work to change outcomes for the better.
Wow.
And then if I could just add to, additionally, the Learning Acceleration Plan actually is really aligned to the district's strategic plan, which, as many of you know, was adopted in June of 2019. What that means is we had a fall semester of beginning to implement a 5-year plan, and then the pandemic happened. And so just like the pandemic has exacerbated challenges in learning, it also caused a big disruption in the implementation of the strategic plan that was adopted in 2019, that was created with stakeholder input. And many of these elements are part of the strategic plan. So when we talk about coaching, professional development, curricular resources, assessment, etc., all of those elements that exist within the Learning Acceleration Plan also exists within the strategic plan. So I think just another note is that there is alignment there. It's part of it is acceleration because, we did lose out on a few years of implementing the strategic plan because of the pandemic. And so we have a little bit less time to do this work more quickly.
Well, the good news is that we are back on track and things are starting, the good way. Thank you so much, everybody, for being with us and to, explaining a little bit more the acceleration plan and, what we plan to do in the next few years. And I don't know if you want to say anything else, Dr. Rodriguez.
Just thank you so much for having us and for listening. And of course, this plan is new and it's complicated, and we're open to feedback. We think it's a pretty good plan, but we also know that it can be better and improved with feedback. So feel free to reach out if there's any questions or any feedback that folks can offer us. In terms of funding for next year, those decisions won't be made until April or later with the 2023-24 budget approval. So we've got a little bit of time to get some more feedback from folks.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much to our listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of our listeners. Make sure you check out our social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll see you on the first Friday of every month.